I know lots of crazy things have happened in this town, but she's even like walking close to you, like clearly nervous, clearly scared, but excited, right? She's kind of like looking you over, right? And she says, so what are you going to do? You going to rip my head off, eat my brains or something, tear up my insides? How's this going to go?
I think for this one, I probably need to roll your cool to see what I do with her because it's a weird, actually seemed to be on my side, and maybe we're
Uh,
not buddies, but still, bit of respect.
yeah. Roll your, well, except for her racist joke, but yeah. Roll plus cold.
It's a 7, so mixed result.
Tell you how your actions leave you vulnerable, and you can choose to back down or go through with it. If you try to keep your cool here, if you try to not attack her, she will take you to a room in the Egyptian palace, lock you up until this is over.
Oh, yeah, I love that scene. We see her reach out and grab one of my tentacles
Right.
and lead me.
Yeah, that's good. She says, well, you haven't ripped my guts out yet. So that makes me think that there's still someone inside there that you still can be reached. And I find that very, very intriguing. And then she kind of puts her hand out to you. You know, your tentacle grabs it. And
Yep.
she's taking you to the back. She says, you might be wondering why I am not reacting with fear and revulsion at this moment. Well, it's because my sister was kind of monstrous herself. I'm accustomed to monstrousness. But no one was more monstrous than my daughter. She takes another drag on the cigarette. She was a pretty sick ticket in the end. That's all right. I remember her in my way. And she takes you to a room that is heavy duty locked, like with reinforced. It's got padlocks and stuff, almost like it was meant to be, right? And she says, this is where we used to keep members of our family who behaved in shameful ways. And she kind of undoes it. And this is like in a deep part of the hotel, right? When you're ready, when this is past, you just bang on the door. And she kind of like leads you in, closes the door behind you. Ellen, let's talk about your sex move.
So my sex move is we both get to ask a question of one another. It can be asked in character, or player to player, and they must answer honestly and directly. I want to know why he stays with Jonah.
So I think you guys are laying there, and he says, so you're probably wondering why I spend so much time with Jonah, even though he's can be a complete jerk sometimes.
A little.
Truth is, I'm not really sure, you know? I mean, I I was kind of hanging out with Serena for a while before she, you know, went missing or whatever happened to her. And that was pretty cool, you know? Like Serena was the first time in a, you know, this time I spent with her was the first time in a long time that I felt like, I don't know, like I felt like someone like respected me and accepted me for who I am. And it was good. But then I don't know, like I just started hearing all these rumors about her, and Jonah just thought it was a really bad idea for me to be hanging around her. And then a bunch of crazy stuff happened that the more I think about it, it just gets a little hazier in my memory. Like I can't quite put my finger on what was going on.
I think I reach out to touch his cheek to kind of stop him, and I will say, you can't let yourself get stuck in that cycle. Believe me, I know.
He's like, yeah, I know. I mean, Jonah's a really complicated guy, And I don't know, like
You're better than he is, you know that. But that's all up to you.
Yeah. He kind of like, lays back and he's kind of like, thinking about everything. And I mean, would you be willing to, I don't know, like come with me, like when I go to tell Jonah that like I don't want to hang out with him anymore?
We should go now.
Now?
We should go to the ball.
Yeah, the ball, right. Yeah.
I say, because I think everything's going to change.
Yeah, I think you're right. And he gets up and he
Okay,
puts
I point the showers over there.
Indeed, yeah. Good. We'll cut there. Well, speak of the devil. I mean, Jonah. That's right. You're getting cleaned up in the boys' locker room, right?
It's just here.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. And that might even be a good chance to put you together with the other characters too, right? Like echoing like the first time Ellen and Jonah had a scene together. Like you're in the boys' locker room having a shower, and Ellen wanders in, right? So why don't we put a pin in that for a minute? We'll come back to it. Okay. Oh, you have a miss, right, Lilith? Okay. Heartbreaking, really. You are not met by Genevieve. You are met by a male fae, red hair like you, very, very like luminous porcelain skin, right? Like really, really pale. Very like chiseled and angular face, right? Ears, the whole shebang. And he rises up out of the pond. I think he's wearing just kind of like a little sarong type piece of cloth wrapped around his waist that's in various fall colors, right? Late fall colors, purple, dark brown. And he steps out of the water and he kind of like walks up to you and says, "Sister, I didn't expect you, but I'm so happy to see you." And he kind of gets down on his like knees to like be face to face with you.
Thomas cut my ride short.
I suspect we have much to talk about with regards to Thomas. And he smiles. He says, "My name is Alastair, and I have had my eye on you for a very long time."
I'm sure given some more time, I'll remember. I'm starting to remember more and more after my life was ripped from me.
He leans forward and pulls you in. He begins to like nuzzle your neck. He's like, "I can smell Genevieve on you."
Well, that can't be altogether unpleasant.
He kind of pulls back and says, "No, I suppose it's not. Would you like to come with me?"
Of course.
And he will bid you to take off your clothes and step into the pond.
And she does.
And you find yourself much like we've first seen a long time ago when you entered the Fey realm. Like we see you walking on this like path of like poppies, right? This red and orange poppy path that he's kind of like leading you across. And he says, "There are big, big things happening, big changes in the order of things going on right at this very moment. It might be too much to explain. I know this must all be very stimulating and overwhelming to you. So I'll try to keep it simple." And he kind of like continues leading you down the path. He turns and smiles. "There are those of us in our family, in our court, who believe that the war that we have been waging for so long with the Dark Court, the Moonlight Court, is counterproductive. That all might benefit by a relaxation of tensions." Does that make sense to you?
I think there might be peace after the scales have been balanced. Thomas does not belong in that place. And I intend to rip his life out, just like he ripped mine.
And yet, if you do this thing, another Dark Fae prince or princess will rise up to take his place. And the cycle will begin anew. It will just go on and on and on forever, like it always has. There are some of us who believe that it's time to, well, it's time to have peace. It's time to strike out and try a different way, don't you think?
What we need is to confront Thomas with a jury.
And he steps forward, his hands on your cheeks, right? Kind of leans in. It's very like infantilizing almost, the way he kind of like cups your cheeks and kind of leans in, right? Like you're a little child or whatever, right? And he goes, "Oh, sweet Lilith. I have a different plan for you. And I can't wait to tell you all the details. Come quickly." And then he just like runs.
She'll follow, but I think under her breath, she's like, not so sweet right now.
I want to go back to Margot for just a brief minute. Margot, you are in this room, this dark room. You're wolfed out. You probably spend a little bit of time like kind of like smashing up against the concrete walls, you know, and kind of like it's a pretty empty room, so you can't destroy too much. And just kind of slamming around and writhing around. And you go in and out of like periods of like brief periods of lucidity, right? As you sort of like get this transformation out of your system, right? And you hear little snatches of conversation from the hallway outside. You hear Adeline having an argument with someone in the hall at some point. She says, "No, Catherine, I am not going to let you or that nun inside. Now, if you want to go get Sheriff Nichols and have him deliver a warrant, well, then we can talk. But until then, please leave. Don't you have a dance to get to?" So that's a thing that happens. And then sometime later, we don't know how long later, you hear another woman's voice, one that you don't recognize. She's also talking to Adeline, and she says, "Oh my goodness, I find it so interesting. I would like just a single look, just one little glance. This could be very, very, very important to my work, Jackie, don't you see?" And she says, "I thought I said, don't call me Jackie. You know I hate that." And that fades away. And then sometime later, we don't know how much longer, you hear a voice you recognize very much. And it says, "I can't help you with this, Jacqueline. I have done everything in my power to protect you up until this point, but you are dealing with something incredibly dangerous, something that you could not possibly understand. Do you understand that you don't understand? I'm afraid I can't help you anymore. This is beyond me." And that fades away. And eventually, you come out of it. You hear the clunk, clunk, clunk of the locks. The door opens up. And Adeline comes in. She's smoking a cigarette. And she says, "Well, how do you feel?"
Tired, but like it's a fresh start.
"You have led to me having a very, very interesting night, young lady."
I wouldn't want you to be bored, Adeline. You have a dull life.
Yes, it does get a little trying at times, dealing with tourists and local yokels in equal measure. And she kind of turns to like leave, but I make do.
Hey, what time is it?
She kind of turns and smiles and says, "You came out of it a little early, actually. You might still be able to catch the end of your ball, Although I've been hearing lots of cop cars going back and forth, I feel like it's been a very, very interesting night in Mercy Falls. I hope someone remembers it next week. And then she leaves with the door open.
I think you see Margot scoop up. Maybe she put some clothes in there for her to put on, and she makes her way out the back. Have they cleaned up the body of the poor waiter?
That's been taken care of already. Yeah.
All right. But she kind of looks maybe mildly guilty at looking at the spot where she offed the kid. And
you do in the distance hear like sirens.
Yep.
Like this is probably like responding to the parking lot thing.
Yeah, and we see Margot walking down the alley, obviously in the way of the high school, and can see flashing lights off in the distance as she's moving there.
Locker room. You've been in the shower for a while, letting this, whatever it is, wash off of you, Jonah. What are you thinking right now? What are you feeling? You're coming down from this, well, you're coming out of darkest self. I mean, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling like I'm no longer myself. Like Thomas kind of killed my old self in a way. Like warped it into something completely unrecognizable. I don't want to say that Thomas is completely responsible, but definitely contributed into turning me into this other thing. And I think that I'm just standing under the hot water and just like rubbing my stomach where I was stabbed, and just rubbing it gently, standing there.
Ellen, I think you've probably been there the whole time, watching. What do you do?
Does that count as creep?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I guess so. What is that? Is that one of your moves?
That's a string I get on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I just wanted to bring up, if Ellen had sex with Tony, then that triggered my sex move.
Oh,
which that counts as one of his gang.
Well, let's see how that works out.
I believe you get the condition one of them, and so since it's a condition, I think you can lose it.
Yeah, you get creep, so you can take a string on him.
What emotion am I getting from you, Ellen? Maybe I don't know that you're there, but I think I feel your emotion coming through.
I think as much as anything, kind of resignation, a little pity, and I will...
Oh, and I think that Jonah totally empathizes with that feeling of resignation, and also a degree of self-pity in this case.
And I'll say, where does it go from here, Jonah?
I'll turn off the water and walk over to where I just left the bloody clothes and the stag mask on the ground. And I think they got kind of wet. I bend down and pick up the stag mask and just kind of wipe off a speck of blood on it. And I say, I don't feel like I belong here anymore. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm something else now.
I think I'll push and hold open the door to leave the locker room. Are you coming with?
I gotta get some clothes. And so he like reaches into the lockers and pulls out like some dirty gym clothes and puts them on. He's like, I wouldn't want to see me walking around naked. And it's like after he has this like serious moment, he's like back.
Like Kevin's comment, go be a grown up then.
And so he'll walk through the door with you.
And I think we're heading for, if we can hear the music off in the distance, probably the Yule Ball.
In an attempt to not have everybody freak out and to maybe ferret out the killer, the cops are kind of like plain clothes roaming around the Yule Ball, right? So the Yule Ball's still going on, but it's just kind of a weird scene. So, what about Tony? Like, are you gonna we're gonna do something with Tony here?
I think that's in Jonah's hands, and I think that's the way Ellen feels.
Yeah. Now that Ellen is kind of like in your gang. Like, at least, I mean, maybe only you perceive it that way, Jonah, but for all intents and purposes, she is, from your perception. Maybe like that's enough for you to like finally let Tony go, right?
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll spend both of my strings on Ellen and Tony to tempt them to go off and be happy without me, both Ellen and Tony, because I have strings on both of them.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, that's enough. I mean, I don't think I even need anything in return. Just spending it is enough for it. So let's just have that scene. Kind of fast forward a little bit. You're kind of at the dance, and you can see these cops like roaming around. Like, they don't fit, right? And like they're these older guys, you know, and older women who are kind of keeping an eye on things, right? They look a little bit more proactive than chaperones, right? And Baby It's Cold Outside is playing, right? So it's kind of like a somewhat slower like kind of thing, you know, going on. And you and Tony and Ellen, I think, are just like kind of like together off to the side of the dance floor. And Sarah and Rhodey are there too. You haven't spent the string yet. Tony's just like, so I've been meaning to talk to you about something, Jonah, if it's cool. You know, if you want, like, I don't want it to be like a weird thing. I don't want it to be like that I don't care about your friendship, and that I don't, you know, I don't want you to think that I don't appreciate everything that done for me and how you've had my back. And he's kind of just going on and on, like he's waiting for you to say, hey, it's okay, right?
I like reach out and I just like put my hand on his arm and I'm like, Tony, I want you to go with Ellen and have a good time and stop worrying about me. Okay? I'm good. You can do your thing.
And he kind of like, he's like, yeah, all right, cool. And he kind of leans in and he gives you the bro hug, right? That sort of like half hug, right? The bro hug. And you realize that you can't tell what he's feeling. And you're spending a string to send Ellen away too, right? Ellen, you get an XP for just...
Yeah, I think I give Ellen like a look and like a smile. Just like a small smile.
I'll take Tony out onto the dance floor then.
Yeah, good. Awesome. And then Rhodey turns to you, Jonah, and says, look what I brought for the punch bowl. And he's got like a big like thing of booze, right?
And Jonah laughs and he's like,
there. And Sarah's like, oh my God, right? You know, the whole thing. And Lilith, you are in a space that looks like the beautiful light version of Thomas's throne room, right? You see a throne carved from this like very like rich, warm, golden brown wood, right? Walking in a field of poppies almost. And there are leaves falling down gently, nonstop from somewhere. Little woodland creatures scampering about, dragonflies and butterflies, right? And there are a bunch of like other fae there, right? Kind of arrayed in different places, kind of like laughing and talking and chit-chatting. And then they all kind of like get a little quiet when you like walk into the space. And Alastair smiles. And he walks over, steps up on that dais and sits down on that throne. And he says, Lilith, I am your liege lord. I have formulated a bold new plan for the future, and you are part of it, young lady.
Tell me your plan.
A union of houses, a pact to end centuries of hostility. It's very exciting. You're going to be Fae royalty.
For there to be peace, there still has to be a rebalancing of the scales first. And then after that, maybe then we can do this plan of yours. But as you can see, my eyes are fixed. And they're, again, like royal purple.
Him revealing his status as your liege lord, I'm going to give him a string on you and spend it immediately. Lilith, I don't think you understand. This is something that I've been working on for a very long time. A very, very long time. I have made a promise to the Moonlight Court. And I don't know if you understand, but making a promise is something of a big deal among our kind. I cannot risk a bloody open conflict by breaking that promise. You must marry Thomas. Spending the string, you get to mark an XP for agreeing to do it.
I don't think so, especially in Darkest Self, right?
Right, yeah.
I think,
well, this might even like enhance your darkest self, right? You're pissed, right? Like, fuck you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she says, like, if I wasn't returned to you in anger, this might have been a plan, but I have found myself in my death, and I need what I need. And again, her eyes are like, I think the pupil that was purple, I think extends to like the whole of her eyes, and her eyes are just complete purple, even the whites.
He leans forward in his chair and he says, you can turn away now, and there are some who will follow you. There are some who want Thomas's blood just as much as you do, perhaps more. But you should know that if you do this, you and your faction will be in open rebellion against me. Is that something you're willing to accept?
That sounds like your choice, not mine.
Do you turn away?
I finally understand my mother, and she turns and walks away.
And as you're walking away, I think Genevieve is there. You didn't notice her before, but Genevieve is there, and she turns and follows you, and she's like, fuck him.
Hello, listeners. We hope you're enjoying Monsterhearts Memories of Mercy Falls. As it turns out, there are a number of costs associated with producing pocket-sized play, including various hosting fees, online services like Dropbox, and editing. You can help defray those costs by supporting the Gauntlet on Patreon. A $2 pledge goes a long way toward keeping the lights on at Pocket Size Play. And you won't just be supporting the show, you'll also get exclusive early access to each new Pocket Size Play series in its entirety that we produce. So head over to patreon.com/gauntlet and support this show today. Thanks.